apologize for the technical difficulties and things like it's working now, I hope. So let's give it a second. I don't even know how many tries we have done, but we're gonna make it happen, and I hope you guys enjoy the the chat that we're gonna have with. Let's see.
How's that?
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Oh wow. Anyway,
Well, that was easy. That was easy.
that was intense. That was intense.
Yes.
Today,
Yes,
anyway,
it was.
thank you very much for being here, David. We're very grateful for the opportunity to represent your work. And we can see your lovely white agent representative up there on the background. And we can see that you're in a house in construction somehow. So tell us, where are you?
I am up in the mountains, the Catskill Mountains of New York. It's about 3.5 hours northwest of Manhattan, and I live on this a beautiful farm up here. And there's a house, a great big meadow, and a barn that's going to be my studio and workspace. And we're growing flowers basically, and doing art. So we just grew all the tulips are just coming up now, and there's tons of other stuff that's going to come up through the summer.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic. That's
yeah.
fantastic. I
And the
always
snow
ask,
and the snow has just melted. The snow has
oh,
just melted like this past week. That's pretty crazy. Yeah.
that's kind of great. Yeah. So, and you're isolated in a way, you don't have many people around then.
No, this is kind of permanent social distancing here. There is no one to distance from really. So, which is pretty nice. Life isn't that much different here at the moment than it normally is. There's a couple of less people around, but it's normally not many people around anyway.
That's great. David, I always start the conversation asking you how did we met? And then after that, I go on to ask you about your childhood and how do you begin with your career and all that stuff.
All right. So where do you want to?
How did we meet?
Yeah, how we met. Okay, so I think I was actually going back in my mind how we met, a few years ago, and it was I think Mixel, and she invited me to participate in one of her exhibitions, and I'm pretty sure that you showed up at the exhibition, I think, or maybe somehow she put us together. I don't exactly remember. Do you?
Who was that person? Who was that person?
Catherine Mixel?
Catherine, myself. I think, yes, I think she was the person. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely right. She's
yeah,
a fantastic mover and shaker in the world of art in Miami, and she
yeah,
certainly have done amazing things now for the community. I
yeah.
really respect what she does.
Yeah, and she's just an amazing person outright and incredibly supportive of all of her artists and both young and old. Yeah, so I think
Yeah,
that's how we originally connected.
that's true. That's true. And tell us where you were born, where you grew up. You were always want to be a photographer or an artist.
Yeah, I grew up in Oakland, California, and I don't know if I ever wanted to be a photographer. I don't think it ever crossed my mind, but it's the only thing I've ever done, basically. So I think I just ended up being a photographer by default. Um, I had I had taken a class um, in grammar school when I was very young. We had a teacher there who I guess was an amateur photographer himself, and he decided to take it upon himself to show his students, and we were probably, I don't know, 11, 12, to show his students a little bit about photography, his hobby. And he had us all make pinhole cameras, and then he set up a dark room in one of the public school, like a coat room or something like that. He set up a little dark room in there, and we all took our pinhole cameras. You know how that works, right? It's a box with a hole in it, and you put a sheet of film in the back, poke a little tiny pinhole in the front, hence the name. And you take that pinhole camera and you just set it out You, you, you just use a piece of tape as the shutter. So you have the piece of tape over the hole, and the shutter's closed. So then you set the pinhole camera down somewhere, point it at something hopefully interesting, take the piece of tape off, and the shutter is now open. And then you just guess about how much time it's going to be that for your piece of paper in the back to become exposed. And then you put your piece of tape back on. Then you
What
go
a
into
great teacher.
huh?
What a great teacher in a way, you know.
Yeah, fantastic teacher, fantastic teacher. So we took that back into the dark room. You open up your pinhole camera, stick it in the developer, and I was hooked. That
And
was
you
it.
were hooked.
I was
You know,
hooked.
that's
And
great.
I've been,
You were
yeah,
hooked to a good things. But then
yes,
you went to Australia, or you always lived
yeah,
in California?
yeah. I ended up in Australia for actually when I was pretty young and almost through all of my adult life. I think I chased a girl over there. I didn't get her, but I didn't get the girl, but fell in love with the country. And I really fell in love with it from a photographic standpoint. I ended up there on the coastline of Sydney and on a Bondi Beach. And as soon as I got there, it was just incredibly beautiful. I mean, it is
It
magnificent.
is. It
And
is. I remember arriving in Australia, and even the air is different. You know, the whole pressure. You feel like you're really certainly in another part of the world.
yes, absolutely. And the coastline there is just so raw and beautiful. And because of the kind of fashion photography I have done throughout my life, a majority of it is done in these very almost all location work, and a majority of it done in these kind of very barren locations out in the desert, in salt flats, and the coastline of Australia just really appealed to me. There'd be these long, flat shelf areas, and the water would just kind of come across it and look like glass. Um, and I just thought, oh my gosh, I have to take pictures here. And in fact, I did my first job. I shot it right there where I had first visualized it. And yeah, and I just fell in love with the country, and I ended up getting a permanent residency and spending most of my adult life there. Also traveling, yeah, traveling between there and, you know, as a fashion photographer, Paris and London and New York and all of that. But that was kind of my home there for a long time.
Yeah. And then, you know, when you came to Miami, and now that I'm putting everything together, you know, I remember that first piece that I get to, you know, to see from you was Red. It was just these amazing sort of big, large images of this red hair movement in a
Yeah,
way, you know, and I'm showing it here, you know, and we have several shows showing the work, and it's a fantastic limited edition color print that comes in different sizes that we sell through our online sale channels. Tell us
yeah,
about that particular piece.
yeah. Well, that actually came about after a long diversion in my photography career, which I'm sure we'll talk about in later in this. But I
Yes,
had spent most of the previous 15 years, aside from doing fashion, I had started doing this very heavy personal work, which was really the antithesis, the opposite of fashion, taking pictures of these very um, destroyed in many ways people, both physically and often emotionally and psychologically. And that kind of took over my life in a most beautiful way for a good 15 years. And at the end of that, I really felt I had said what I wanted to say as a photographer. And I think I just wanted, it had been a really heavy time taking all those pictures and exhibiting those, around the world. And there came a time where I just wanted to do something light and show once again the other side of beauty.
yeah,
Um, and Red, the project there, that was the first series to come out of that. This kind of you know excitement to basically just show this other another side of things that I wanted to expose to. That it wasn't all.
and the muse is your muse now, is the model your,
Yeah, the muse will remain anonymous,
the muse remains
as is
anonymous.
everything in my life.
Yes, I'm trying to identify it. I believe I did, but I just will remain myself. I don't know. But you know what I love about it, also it was just a sort of movement in the piece and the communication between the hair, the body, but at the same time, the humanity that you give to this particular portrait.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it has this beautiful flow to it. And, it's not a single series of just holding the shutter down. I kept shooting it and shooting it, and it fell together in this beautiful kind of holistic movement that flips around. And yeah, it's kind of one of my favorite series that I've ever shot. And it just has
It
this
is.
beautiful
It is.
levity about it. Yeah.
And every time that we see it, and I see it on live, the quality of the shoot and the perfection of the image is unbelievable. We have the chance to show it at the Zaha Hadid building, all at once together in this amazing hallway, and it looks quite spectacular. And then I'm showing the viewers another image that is actually my favorite of all of them, which is this Tokyo bath. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so I was, really fortunate in my career as a fashion photographer. I got to travel all over the world taking these pictures. And often I would get the opportunity just to do my personal work. And I ended up at an onsen, which are these hot water springs. They're all throughout Japan, and they're very traditional and incredibly beautiful. And I ended up at this, I don't recall exactly the name of this onsen, and even if I did, I'm sure I would mispronounce it and embarrass myself and everyone else. So this was actually during the winter, and all around her is snow, although you can't see it, but that's all the steam coming off the water. And it was just a magical place to do a shoot. And this is just one of the images out of there. And it's one of my favorite too, so I'm glad you like it too.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant, and we sold it a couple of times because I think it's a fantastic one. This is another image of it's a great composition. It looks raw, but at the same time, it's incredibly sensitive and the approach.
Yes, I mean, honestly, that's easily one of my favorite pictures. Really, I don't really, to be dead, I know this sounds ridiculous, but in general, I don't necessarily like all of my pictures. In fact, I probably don't like most of them for whatever weird, insecure reasons I have. But that one I love. I really do. And it was actually, this is kind of creepy, but it was taken in my my basement in Bondi Beach in Australia. And it just happened to look like that and had this beautiful light filtering through that grill.
Yes, no.
And that picture just kind of, once again, that's just one out of a series. And although it looks, I don't know if other people see it small there like I'm looking at now. The actual image is around 5 feet across, but all the scary parts are hidden in the shadows. So although it looks like a very exposed position, and it's very exposed emotionally, I think when people look at it, there's a beautiful rawness to it, but you don't see anything, offensive. If you find that offensive, I don't. But I think it's kind of family friendly if you have a very liberal family.
It is. What I look about your pictures also is the fact that there is somehow respect to the body. At the same time, is privacy in a way. Many of the models are not looking directly at the subject at the camera. It's all about the body, the life, the composition, what it goes through, and that make them incredibly timeless.
Yes, yeah. I think too, when the subject is looking right into the camera, it can make it a little, I hate to say cheesy, because I've taken a lot of pictures with the subject looking right in the camera, but especially when the subject is so exposed like this, I find when they're looking right in the camera, it can be just a little too much and a little too cliche, perhaps, even though I've done that cliche many times. But I really like it, and it really appeals to me in situations like this where you don't have to kind of confront, also eyes are very kind of confrontational in a way.
Yes, they are. They are. And we're going to talk at the end. At the end of the two new series, the one new series that you are working on, but at the same time, there is a lifetime project. The series that you talk at the beginning. So when I wanted to start
you're kind of
to
cutting
show
out
this
your little
sort of beauty. of the beauty of your nudes, and the sensation that you trying to that you deliver when you interpret, these images through your camera. I think it's a perfect
Yeah.
communication between the camera, the subject, but also they have so much to say.
Yeah, I'm glad you enjoy looking at them, and I hope everyone does. And I try to find this. I think in all of my work, I really try to get out of the way as a photographer. The last thing I want is for anyone looking at the pictures to wonder about the photographer, where the photographer was standing, what the relationship might have been, any of that. I just really want to get out of the way and let the viewer have a moment with the picture themselves, as if they were just there and they're kind of slightly voyeurs into that moment. And I kind of feel that if I put my print on it, it just ruins it. I've kind of haven't done my, if they're thinking about the photographer or anything else, I haven't done my job well. It really
And I
needs
think, when you're talking, something very nice about what you just say about the eyes are very confrontational. You
yes, they
know,
certainly can be.
yeah. And then I realized that through your entire body of work, the women's and the muses that you use are all either, looking towards another place or actually with their eye covered.
Yes, and I don't necessarily think about that when I'm shooting. I guess that's just often when it looks right to me, when they're not looking at the camera. Um, and I is too, because I can just kind of, my eyes can rest on them too. I want the viewer's eyes to rest on the subject without feeling that, and just enjoy that moment, of looking at it and being part of it. But I think because once again, when the subject is staring at you, it kind of takes away your personal privacy in a way. You're having this interaction with the actual person instead of just standing back a little bit and getting to enjoy that moment. So I guess it appeals to
Yeah.
me as well. I guess that's when I take the
And,
pictures.
and this, do you think they have a little bit of an SMM, soft SMM, in the way that this particular series, not all of them, but this particular series came along? When the body should meet to darkness, with the eyes closed, and what is the message there?
Well, I think, there's so many things going on, and and they're, what the message is. It's whatever the viewer wants it to be, whatever. And I find that with all of my work, whether it's this stuff, these beautiful kind of sensual images, or whether it's the really heavy stuff of blown up soldiers, I really, whatever the viewer feels, that's perfect. It doesn't really matter what I'm trying to say necessarily, or whether what I was thinking when I was taking it, or whatever I was trying to say. In the end, it's that feeling that you get when you look at it, and
Are you
whatever.
satisfied by that sort of message that you send in every image before you release it? You get to achieve absolutely all the desires because the subject is a provocation to you, or because it's something that you already have planned in your mind and you want to build in the scene? Did I explain myself well in what I'm trying to ask you?
Yeah, well, I'm not exactly, I'm sorry, but
No,
if
I
you could
just wanted to
rephrase
know,
your question.
when you come and do a portrait of an image such as this,
Yes.
you come with a plan,
Oh, I
with a
see. I'm sorry.
particular plan. This is what.
No, my only plan is I often, unfortunately, have nothing in my head when I come to the shoot, whether often, even if it's fashion shoots, and which often scares me. And I just have to rely on creating something in that moment. And it's really move here, move there, do this, look this way, that way. And I'm just looking through the camera, and it just turns into this beautiful, um, it's like a movie. It's like watching a movie. And when it speaks to me, when it's like, yeah, that it's a bit like a dance.
So it's not a
It's a bit,
script. You don't
it's
come with a script in your mind.
yeah, maybe maybe there's something. Yeah, I have an overview, because the location is so important to me, and the location is often the first thing that actually inspires me. And then that vision of putting this person in that location and creating this feeling, this very specific feeling. Um, and I think that's what I'm trying to get across, this feeling that I perhaps that I wanted to feel as well, you know, at the time. And I get to kind of create that and document it in a way, and then and hopefully step out of the way at the same time. I know I'm not doing a great job of explaining, but
No, I think you do. You know, I think you really the location is what really get you there. You know,
yes,
I guess.
yes, yeah. I mean, that's what got me to Australia, and that's what how I found my studio in New York. You know, I walked in the door and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just want to do pictures here. You know, it was just this raw, beautiful old space, and I just knew that I wanted to put somebody there, you know, and take pictures. And I remember driving by the Bonneville, the salt flats in Utah, and all I could think of was like, oh my gosh, I have to take a picture of a girl standing in the middle of that, and the same in the desert. And I see these spots that are very inspiring, and you know, I don't know, they create something in me, you know, and I love the barrenness of it, and dropping this beautiful creature, you know, into the middle of this barren, you know, earthscape often. But it's the same even in a kind of dingy room like that, you know. It's I
See,
see
even
space and just
in
want
a
to drop
motel
this
room,
beautiful thing.
looks to me like any motel, you know, and
Yeah,
anywhere in
it
the
is.
world.
It's just a sleazy motel, a sleazy motel in Australia, you know, who and I'm, you know, they probably didn't want me taking pictures there, but there they are, you know, too
No,
late.
but you see through the light and through the whole message that you're trying to deliver. You know, the picture appear in a way with a sort of transparency of color and it's soft and the beauty of the skin. And when people get to see them, you know, and the way that you print, you are very particular about the quality of paper, and I can, you know, you're very on top of how your work is going on out there. So that is something that I respect lots. And just to see, you know, the location for me is also very inspiring. You know, my background as a designer, you know, it's always
Yes.
a bare space is what inspired me the most. So we show in this one, and then we go through the black and white work. You know, we have this sort of, again, the same scene of these women, you know, in this mattress and this bed that is not even made, you know, but the beauty of the contortiousness of the woman is great.
Yeah, I mean, they're once again, they're very raw. They're very raw, but you know, hopefully not disturbing in any way, and not cheesy in any way. And you just get to kind of enjoy that moment. And once again, in general, they're not necessarily looking at you. I can't exactly see what you have up there, um, but you get to be kind of be part. The viewer becomes part of that moment, and you can kind of feel the vibe there. And you know, and just let your eyes rest on it. I always come back to that I just want these pictures to be something that your eyes rest on, and you can, it moves you in some way, and it just gives you a certain feeling. And you know, I know they do. Certainly for me, I enjoy looking at them and going back on them and remembering when I took the pictures, and you know, hope other people viewing them have the same kind of response to them.
They have, you know, because when it goes and you start to take a look of the picture actually close by, the feeling of, again, I repeat the word humanity that you give to this subject, even if they are just throw in a mattress, you know, they look so playful in a way,
Yeah.
you know, and I really love it. And you know, we actually gonna see this amazing picture that is the first time that I see it now. It's part of your fashion work, you know. You like that sort of blue layer, you know.
I, that's funny that I don't know why I've always been so attracted to this kind of filmy, watery blue feeling. That's funny that you notice that, especially with that one picture. But I mean, so many of the ones you've shown have that, and probably most of my pictures do. And I'm not sure why that color is always in my head. You know, when I love the ocean, and somehow that kind of that aqua blue is very appealing to me. That light, this very blue filtered light, blue-green filtered light always stands out to me. And I always try to capture that light, you know, and often in the kind of places that I like to shoot, the light is blue like that because they're in, you know, they're out in the shade, and in the shade with, if you're a photographer, I guess you know this, that the color temperature is very, very high and therefore blue. And, you know, the camera actually captures that blue if you allow it to. And yeah, so that blue color appears in tons of my pictures, and through my entire career, that color is there. Yeah.
What are you? You're still shooting commercially? You still do some fashion, or you are completely dedicated only to your art?
Yeah, I think, you know, these days I would prefer. I kind of feel I've done what I wanted to do as a fashion photographer, and you know, over the years doing that kind of very, very serious work, it was just so fulfilling doing that, personally and for the subjects and for the viewers. I think there was so much that we all got out of that, and that fulfillment is something I didn't really feel as a fashion photographer. You know, it's a lot of stress trying to take those pictures on demand all the time, the fashion pictures, out
No,
in
no,
the
I
middle of a
completely
desert, in the
understand.
middle of a, you
I
know,
don't
salt
relate,
flat, in
but
the
I
middle
can.
of the ocean, and you know, it's really challenging, and the response is just always next, 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 next. You know, even in the magazines that they're in, you know, there's hopefully your beautiful story, and then you turn the page and it's somebody else's beautiful story, and which is great, but there isn't that sense of what am I doing here in the world?
Yeah.
What am I doing to help? What is my purpose here? Is my photography promoting anything except beauty? And often with fashion, I felt it was almost working against my ideals. I think so often, and this is especially with fashion, but with many things, is um, the viewer, instead of being able to just enjoy the image, they see it as a mirror to themselves and not in a positive way. And often they think, you know, they see them as being very real, when in fact these aren't real. These photographs are often, you know, fashion pictures. It's a huge crew. There's the photographer and
Oh,
numerous assistants and makeup artists and a stylist and their assistants and their assistants creating this moment that looks like it's the most natural thing in the world,
but
but
it's
it's
not.
not. But it's not. And then on top of that, you have, you know, Photoshop. But you have so many people, you know, so many people look at these pictures and just think that that's reality. And they look at themselves and they think, I don't look like that. And I'm not as skinny as her. And it actually creates a negative feeling that I absolutely don't want to create in the world. There, you know, unfortunately, you know, it's funny. We're able to, for instance, look at an animal, a beautiful horse, and we don't compare. We're able to just enjoy the beautiful body on the horse, and it's refined, and you know, muscles, and it's glowing fur. What is that on a horse? Hair. Um, and but it's funny with a person, we don't seem as able to do that. It's to just back away and just appreciate. It's like, wow, what a beautiful animal, in a way, you know, and not compare ourselves. Um,
We are
and
lucky. We're lucky to listen that, you know, what you just say from a photographer that I consider more an artist. You know, when
I'm
since the years that I know.
sorry, one.
No, it's great to listen what you just say about your experience as a fashion photographer, because I consider you more of an artist in a way, you know, not a photographer. And when I get to meet with you and group this selection of beautiful images for our sell purposes in our gallery, you know, in our online gallery, you know, I keep asking you for more work, you know, and your constant answer is like, I'm working in my projects. I'm working in this project that I'm working on. So, but I highly recommend to everybody up there to take a look of your tech talk, you know, that you did in Vienna, because it really describes very well what I'm going to now show to people, which is this fantastic project that you have done, especially now and at this moment, you know, where we kind of are able to identify a new kinds of heroes, you know, which are, you know, there are doctors and nurses and everybody that is helping. You know, you
Yes.
work down backwards and start to photograph these amazing people that have sacrificed their part of their lives, you know, of their body and their minds and this and their spirit, and work for us. So tell us about this project. How did it start and where are you now? It's in museums, it's in collections, it's been shown in government and institutions. There is plans of a book about. So tell us about it.
Yeah, you know, this it's funny how the universe will Mother Nature will always have its way with you in the end, and it certainly did with me. Uh, you know, I was maybe searching for some purpose and and becoming uncomfortable with fashion work and not really considering myself an artist anyway. Um, and somehow I kind of feel like perhaps the universe conspired against me or with me, really, um, and kind of forced me to do these pictures that I hadn't planned on. Through a series of events that, you know, if you want to hear the truth about it, you can go watch the TED Talk. Um, it was taken in Vienna, Austria, a couple of years ago, and it kind of explains what actually transpired and in a way forced me to do these pictures. Um, that I then spent the next 15 years photographing. It started with the original project was called the Scar Project, and a young friend of mine had been a model, got breast cancer when she was very young, and you know, of course, I just, as a photographer, had to take a picture of that. So took her to the studio, no shirt on, and just this big scar across her chest. I think she was 29, and to make a very long story short, it led to another picture and another picture and another picture of these very raw images of these young women who were severely, you know, in many ways disfigured by the surgery. And this project became known as the Scar Project. It took, I think, 3 to 5 years before it got to the first exhibition. It opened in New York, and I really didn't know what people were going to think about this. The pictures are very confronting, that's for
They
sure.
are.
And they're not pretty. They're not. I mean, the one you have up on your screen is kind of the prettiest out of all of them. Um, I really made a point in general with the rest of them not to take pretty pictures because I felt the women, they weren't thinking, I'm so pretty. I think when they were looking in the mirror, they were, you know, confronted with themselves. And so these pictures, these images, they all are looking right into the camera, and each image is around 5 feet across. So they're big, they're larger than life.
How
And
many
there's,
how many how many soldiers or military people do you
yeah,
photograph?
so that then after the Scar Project came The Unknown Soldier, which is a series of these young men coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan, and I probably shot 30 of them, uh, you know, and that also became an exhibition on its own, um, and has traveled all around. It was acquired by the Library of Congress and many other, you know, museums and collectors, and you have to be a pretty bold collector to get one of these, but I appreciate it, and I think they're images that need to be seen. You know, I think they, especially in
No,
this world of
I do
social
believe
media.
that.
Pardon?
They're very powerful. They're very clean. They're done with lots of respect. You know, I choose these two particular ones because I really love them. You know, I think she being pregnant, you know, and suffers so much, and now the other soldier just swimming inside this amazing pool on the water, you know, with no legs. You know, it's such a message of freedom and
Yeah,
and generosity.
yeah, absolutely. And I think too, you know, people are able to, the pictures are confronting, but when people see them, they often just kind of cry and go, they're so beautiful, they're so beautiful. And of course, it's not that they're pretty pictures of the men or the women or the kids. It's that humanity is a very beautiful and tender thing. And I've tried to capture that. And I think, you know, in these days of social media where we've all kind of become avatars of ourselves and everyone trying to present this perfect this perfect image of themselves, which often just isn't true, even to the person posting the images. I think seeing these, there's an immediate connection with the subject, and you just feel this beautiful, you know, this beautiful, the beautiful power of humanity and compassion, and realize how similar the feelings that we all share are, and also realize our responsibilities, that we
Yeah.
create all of this. You know, we're responsible for everything. Everything you see out there, we've pretty much created, just the way we interact with each other. You know, the things we say, the way we look at people, and you know, I hope these pictures especially have made a difference in the way people interact and
I
the way
think they
they see
are.
themselves.
I think they are. You know, for me, when I see them, you know, I I understand humanity. I understand kindness. I love the fact that you did it in black and white, because it's such a great reflection of clarity of who they are, you
Yeah.
know. And now that we are finally dignified heroes in the way that they deserve, you know, now with the doctors and the nurses and everything. But these people have lost not only a part of their body, but they're also the whole mutilation of their mind is also
Yes.
is quite something, you know. And and as a viewer, you know, I appreciate that you have done that, because they're very, you know, beautiful, but at the same time heartbreaking, you know, that you really feel them, you know. You try and I think the next time I see somebody like that, kind of like look at and smile to them, because they really have a message. So, and now you're working in another project, you know, it's for a couple of years, and it's
Yes.
also it actually is the first time that I get to see the images actually yesterday, so I don't know that much about it, and I hope one day we have the privilege to sell it. And
You
it's
will.
this project.
Yeah. So this is called The Resurrection of Eve. And it's been kind of what I've been working on the last couple of years, as you've said. I feel like as a photographer, I've been doing it now my entire life, you know, it's just my entire life. And in many ways, um, doing, you know, all of these pictures that you've seen throughout the fashion career, and then kind of my, you know, um, fine arts, and these very serious subjects that have um, toured around. And I kind of felt, and especially culminating in that TED talk, I really feel like I had said what I wanted to say as a photographer and as a man in so many ways by the end of this. And but of course, I still wanted to do art. And so the Resurrection of Eve, um, is kind of the culmination of that. And basically, they're contemporary fossils. I'm hand making very large sheets of paper, literally from pulp and different kind of organic materials. Each sheet is around 5 feet across. Most of my work, in fact, all of the things you see out there are start out of the original images are around 60 inches. So they're larger than life. So these are, yeah, I'm hand making these large sheets of paper, and incorporated in the paper are organic materials and bits of the DNA of the subject, which is Eve. You know, the the original.
What do you mean the DNA? Do you
Yeah,
use them? You photograph them?
there's bits of hair, and you know, and things that literally these become fossils. The paper is very thick. It's like this. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
It's very thick, and the paper itself looks like you cut it out of the side of a mountain. And embedded in this paper are some, you know, bits of hair, bits of organic material, the bones from a fish, you know, the wing of a bird. They're just stuck in there like fossil matter, and the image is sublimated into the paper. So it's just the same way it happens in the earth, where the heat and the pressure create this latent image. And you know, it's funny. I find that this time during this pandemic, it really uh, uh, comes around right to where it's meant to be, and that is at least part of it, that we're kind of just destroying ourselves and our planet. And
But
soon we will. Soon, go ahead. I'm sorry. One.
the images that you see up there are photographs. There you print on it, or
Yeah. So they actually begin as photographs, and yeah, then as I said, I make the paper and then sublimate. At least this is a long process that I'm still working on, and sublimating the images into the paper, um, so that the paper is kind of, yeah, it just holds this latent image. It's not laying on top. The
How
image is
many you have
on
done?
the paper. Pardon?
How many you have done?
Well, there's quite a few sheets now, and I make the paper at a studio in New York. And with the help of a amazing paper artist in Miami, in fact. Um, and I'll be going as soon as this pandemic is over. Hopefully, we'll be going back down to New York and make more sheets. It takes a lot of time to make just one big sheet. It doesn't just kind of happen, and it's a very slow process. And the paper itself is an integral part, perhaps the main part of the work. And it's something I had never done. I had never attempted to make paper. I had never even thought about it. But this whole organic process became very appealing to me. And especially I find this collision that we still face today between science and religion. And in these pictures, we have the technology, the science to actually get the DNA out of this picture, and literally, I think if we wanted to recreate Eve here out of this image that will hang on a wall, you could take your tweezers and pull out a piece of this and recreate Eve. Yet we still have this collision with.
Are you gonna recreate
with
Adam? Are you gonna recreate Adam?
Yeah, we'll see about Adam. First, we're going to see about Adam. Eve first, and maybe Adam later, and then I don't know. Well, I'd be happy to do that, but it's been slow going trying to to start to get this all, and I need to love it too, and I need to love both the image, the sheets of paper, and the image, and then the way it looks when it's all together, and the whole thing. So it's been really, really fulfilling doing this, and I'm excited about the work, and I hope the message is going to get across there about where we're going as as humans and as a race, and what we're doing to each other and what we're doing to the planet. And also, once again, hopefully there's just this latent beauty in there that we can all just rest our eyes on.
It's so funny because at the end, seeing all these images now, giving the viewers a bit of a traveling sort of your life, from seeing these images to go and see all these images now that we have shown, is how much you wanted to really communicate to the world, humanity,
Yeah. I mean, Juan Carlos, that's what I really realized as I got older, just that I wanted to make sure I said something important in some small way, and at least put something out there into the universe that helped people, that helped me, that helped the people who looked at the images and they got something out of it, rather than just, she's skinnier than I am.
So this is your next project, and then after this sort of pandemia kind of thing is controlled, what is going to be your next destination, or is going to be there where you are?
I think I'm going to die right here very happily, hopefully not too soon, but I love it here. It is absolutely gorgeous.
Can we take a pic? Can you take a pic with your camera?
Yeah. I don't know if I can turn this around. I can probably show you outside right now. Hold on here. Let me see if I can make this happen there. It's kind of playing with fire.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm sitting right now. There's a screen there, a bug screen. So, and it kind of very, very expansive. Well, that's the side of the window. On and on here. Let me get back there. Yeah, there's it's a very beautiful property, and it's on a dirt road. It's very quiet, and there's lots of animals, and we're growing beautiful flowers and doing art. I'm turning the barn, at least for now, into a workspace to work on those the Resurrection of Eve series. And hopefully we'll do an animal rescue as well. We're big animal lovers of just life in all forms, right?
Your small dog.
Maybe animals more than people. I'm not sure.
Are you a father now?
No, just a dog. I have a. I'm the father of a dog, Fred, a very cute dog. In fact, come here, bud.
Show me. Oh, so cute. Oh, I remember that
Yes,
we
I think
talked.
I think you've met. Hi, Fred. I think
Yeah,
you've met Fred. He's a little camera shy. Doesn't really like. He's not a huge social media fan. Do you want to look in the camera? No. Okay. Anyway,
yeah, but he's adorable. He's adorable. I met him a couple
yeah,
of
he loves
times.
the farm.
He's
He doesn't
quiet.
look like much of a farm dog, but he really is. He fits in really well at this.
Throwing it there. Well, that's his name is Fred, right? Jennifer,
Yes.
just remember that. But thank you
Yeah.
so
Got to remember
much. You know,
that.
is any last message that you wanted to give to
I'm
your
sorry you're cutting.
fans and your viewers? Is any last message that you wanted to transmit to your friends and your viewers um, up there?
Yeah, yeah, I think, I think really what I want to say, just as a man and as a artist, photographer, is just realize how important you are and how great the effect is on everyone around you, even when you think it's not. Your energy, the love you give, the feeling that you put into the air, into the universe, the things you say. It's very important, and it's like the butterfly effect. It changes the world. It'll really change the world. So, be present. Make sure the energy you're putting out there is positive and has the effect you want it to have. And
Absolutely.
I hope that comes through in my pictures too.
Yeah, no, it is comes, and people can come and, can go and see your pictures and RC. We're in our spare, we're in First Tips, and we're constantly posting you on social media. Some limited editions are already finished, but some other ones are available. And we're always very excited to see your work. And I hope one day we have the chance to be able to sell this new work that you have. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you so much too. It's always wonderful to see you and to work with you. And yeah, hopefully we'll be getting if this pandemic ever ends, we'll be getting Resurrection of Eve down to you too, and hopefully up on a wall there.
Absolutely. Tomorrow we're going to start, just to let know everybody up there, tomorrow we're starting 1 week of conversations in Spanish with all our artists from Mexico, Colombia, Spain, Argentina, Cuba, Brazil. It's going to be a whole week in Spanish, and then we're going to continue the English conversation with another set of artists and other people that matters in the world of art. I'm so glad the influencers kind of disappeared for a little bit. So we're gonna take cover with a more art conversations and no beauty videos. So thank you so much for joining me. My regards to Lauren, and be safe. And I see you very
Thank you.
soon. Thank you very
Thank you so
much.
much. You take care, Juan Carlos. You take care. Thank you again, huh?
All my best.
Bye.
Bye bye.